The clink of glasses, the glow of candles, the soft music from a live piano, the restaurant felt like a dream. Olivia sat at the long table surrounded by family and business partners, the kind of crowd her husband Michael liked, people who would applaud him. It was their 20th wedding anniversary. The cake sat on a cart near the wall, white icing and gold letters, waiting for a happy speech. Michael stood, straightened his jacket, and lifted his champagne flute. "I've decided to start a new chapter, without Olivia," he said. The words dropped like stones into still water. A wave of whispers moved down the table. Olivia's children, Ethan and Sophie, froze in their seats. Michael's partners looked at one another with tight faces. By the bar, a young woman in a red dress leaned on her elbow and smiled to herself as if she had been waiting for this moment. No one spoke. A server stopped mid-step with a tray of espresso cups. The piano player missed a note, then kept going like nothing had happened. Olivia did not cry. She did not shout. She folded her napkin, set it by her plate, and lifted her own glass. The light from the chandelier sparkled in the bubbles. "Thank you for your honesty, Michael," she said calmly. "Please, everyone, enjoy the evening." Her voice was steady. Her hands did not shake. Her heart did not race. She had already done all of that in private, weeks ago, when she had found the first receipt that did not belong to her. 2 diamond earrings bought 2 days before her birthday. They never reached her hands. In her purse sat a slim folder. Inside lay bank statements, copies of wire transfers, screenshots of messages, a court notice, and a sealed letter to Michael. She had labeled the folder with a simple word, anniversary. Michael waited for the reaction that would make him look strong and brave, tears, a scene, a broken woman. Instead, he saw his wife look at him with a kind of quiet pity, like a doctor who knows the diagnosis and is only deciding how to say it out loud. The server finally set down the espresso. The piano player found the melody again. And Olivia took a slow sip of champagne, already knowing that before dessert, everything would change, just not the way Michael planned. Olivia met Michael in a college study room that always smelled like old paper and coffee. He was charming and bold, a business major with big ideas. She was the finance student who could make numbers behave. He talked about buildings and deals, she showed him how interest, timing, and cash flow were the real engines. He loved to say, "We'll take on the world together." She believed him. They married in a small church and started small, 1 rental house, then 3, then a cluster of shabby units near the train line. Michael shook hands and made promises. Olivia managed the books, the leases, the insurance deadlines, and the taxes. When a roof leaked, Michael made calls, Olivia found the money to fix it without sinking the whole month. They were a team, at least at first. They had 2 children, Ethan, thoughtful and careful, and Sophie, bright and brave. Olivia kept the family steady while the market rose and dipped. When the crash came, it was her emergency fund, built from side consulting, coupon clipping, and saying no to things she wanted, that kept their family home safe. Michael called her the Rock, but over time the words felt like a polite way of saying the one who doesn't get applause. Years passed. Michael liked risk more than results. He loved new offices and glossy presentations. Olivia loved balance sheets that ended in black ink. He hired a young marketing manager named Riley with sharp heels and a softer laugh around him than around anyone else. Late nights became more common. Dinners went cold. Olivia did not nag, she watched. Then came the earring receipt. The timing was wrong. The price was high. And the gift never appeared. Olivia placed the slip of paper in a folder. She checked a bank portal at midnight and saw a wire labeled consulting going to an LLC she did not recognize. The owner's name? Riley Hart. Olivia did not shout. She made a list. She checked every corporate card. She pulled 6 months of statements and circled the lies that wore nice names, client dinner, branding, vendor gifts. She photographed everything. She spoke to a lawyer named Dana, calm and precise, who read their prenuptial agreement line by line and smiled once at page 8. "Yes, it's there," Dana said. "A fidelity clause. If we can prove it, the court can shift asset control, quietly, if we time it right." Olivia nodded. She did not know if her heart was breaking or hardening. Maybe both can happen at once. Proving infidelity is messy. Proving financial misconduct is easier. Olivia focused on the money. It told a story that did not lie. She traced a pattern: $7,500 here, $11,000 there, a burst of $45,000 in 1 month, all labeled as consulting. The same routing number. The same shell. The same hidden life. Meanwhile, Michael's company started to wobble. The projects that looked shiny on slides bled cash underneath. Vendors waited too long to be paid. A lender asked for updated statements. Michael smoothed it over with charm. Olivia smoothed it over with math. She met quietly with the company's CFO, a careful woman named Priya who respected Olivia because Olivia respected the numbers. Priya had noticed things too: an unusual vendor added without a standard contract, a rising line item with no deliverables, and a private corporate card issued to temporary marketing support. Priya had asked Michael for documentation. He waved her off. Priya did not want drama. She wanted compliance. She documented every unanswered request and sent them to Olivia, who stored the emails in the anniversary folder. At home, Olivia did not sleep much. She lay awake and remembered early mornings with 2 small children, packed lunches lined up like little promises, and the way Michael would kiss her cheek and say, "I've got you," before leaving for a day of meetings and smiles, shaking hands and making promises. She thought about how often she had believed that sentence and how often she had been the one holding him instead. She did not tell Ethan and Sophie. They were adults now, but they were still her children. She would not put the weight of their father's choices on their backs. She would carry it until the time was right. Then an email arrived. The subject line was bright and cruel: to 20 years. An assistant had scheduled a formal dinner at La Bellissima with family and key partners. Michael liked audiences. Olivia felt the date land like a pin on a map. She circled it. She met with Dana again. They prepared filings. They timed account holds. They drafted a letter informing investors that, pending court review, there would be a change in leadership for stability. The language was polite but strong. Priya prepared internal notices for the morning after the dinner. She bought a simple navy dress for the dinner. She put on small pearls that had belonged to her mother. She placed the anniversary folder in her purse and closed the clasp. The night came. The room glowed. And Michael stood to speak. As Michael's words spread through the room, Olivia felt 2 feelings at once: a burn in her chest and a strange, quiet relief. The burn was anger, not only at the affair, but at the choice to make this public, to use their anniversary like a theater stage, to turn a family dinner into a cheap reveal. The relief was simple: the pretending was over. She looked at Ethan and Sophie. Their eyes were wide and wet, not sure where to rest. Olivia gave them a small nod, the kind that says, "Breathe. I am not afraid." She would explain later. For now, she needed to hold the air steady. Michael enjoyed the spotlight, but he did not enjoy silence. It made him think. He did not like that. So he filled it. "This has been a long time coming," he said, trying for noble. "I wish Olivia well. I know we'll always be friends." The words were for his audience. He wanted to be seen as gracious, as a man who left cleanly. He wanted his partners to think of him as steady and brave. He wanted his mistress to see power and control. He wanted everyone to clap. Olivia lifted her glass again, not to toast him but to give herself a heartbeat to steady her voice. "Michael," she said softly, "thank you for letting me know." A few people let out little breaths, not quite laughs, not quite sighs. The server set down the cake knife and stepped back. Olivia's anger did not roar. It sharpened. It became something useful, clarity. She thought of all the times she had kept them afloat while he chased an image of himself that needed fresh applause every week. She thought of how he had taken her calm for weakness and her trust for blindness. She thought of how many women in rooms like this had swallowed words that should have been said out loud. She would not make a scene. She would make a point. Under the table, her fingers touched the folder. Paper can be heavy when it carries truth. She let that weight ground her, like a hand on a doorknob before you step through. Michael smiled toward the bar. The woman in red smiled back. Olivia saw everything she needed to see in that look: arrogance, certainty, and the belief that actions do not have costs when the table is crowded and the lighting is pretty. She lifted her chin. The bill was due. The manager, a kind man who had seen too many family dramas at table 7, moved quietly to Olivia's side. "Would you like to step outside? We have a private room," he whispered. Olivia shook her head. "Thank you. I'm fine." She stood, not in a rush, and tapped her glass lightly with a spoon. The sound drew eyes without force. She waited for the room to settle. "Friends, family," she said, "thank you for coming to celebrate 20 years. Michael has shared his update. I have one too. Please enjoy your meals. Dessert will be served soon." There was a murmur of confusion. Michael's jaw moved, but no words came out. He had expected tears. He had expected to look like the brave one. He was not ready for calm. Olivia walked to him and placed a cream envelope by his plate. "This is for you," she said. "Please read it after dessert." He glanced down as if the paper might bite him. "What is this?" "Documentation," she said softly. He laughed, too loud. "You had to make this dramatic?" "No," she said. "You chose drama. I chose process." She smiled at Priya 2 tables away. Priya gave the smallest nod. At 9 a.m. tomorrow, internal notices would go out to staff and major clients, citing a temporary shift in authority pending a court review. The banks would receive instructions already signed by both Michael and Olivia months earlier, giving either officer power to safeguard funds in extraordinary circumstances. Tonight qualified. Olivia sat again, between Ethan and Sophie. "We'll talk later," she whispered. "I'm okay. We're okay." The piano shifted to a slower song. Plates of lemon tart appeared. Olivia took a bite. It was tart and sweet, like truth. Michael's phone began to vibrate. He checked the screen, frowned, and ignored it. It buzzed again. The mistress in red leaned closer, whispering. He stood and stepped away to answer. Olivia's first small victory was not money. It was momentum. He had expected to direct the scene. Now he was reacting to it. That is when people make mistakes. She tasted her wine. She set down her glass. She waited. Michael's calls multiplied. A lender wanted to confirm a notice they had received from counsel referencing a protective hold. A major investor asked if he had indeed requested a board meeting to discuss leadership changes. A supplier said their autopay had bounced, then, seconds later, that it had been restored with a new authorization code signed by Olivia. He walked back to the table with color drained from his face. The woman in red touched his arm. "What's going on?" she whispered. "Nothing," he said through his teeth. Olivia watched him try to smile. It slid off his face. "Olivia," he said at last, close to a hiss, "what did you do?" She kept her voice level. "I followed the rules. The same ones you taught the kids to respect. We do not spend money that is not ours. We do not take from a company without giving value. We do not lie when we sign our names." Some guests pretended to be on their phones. Others stared openly. People love a show, but they love justice more. He pulled the envelope open with trembling fingers. Inside, he found copies of wire transfers he thought were buried, a summary of the fidelity clause, page 8, bolded, and a court notice accepting the filing of a petition to protect marital assets due to reasonable evidence of dissipation. On top lay a letter, short and cold. Michael. By the time you read this, our accounts will be under review. Purchases not tied to the business or the family will be frozen. Corporate cards will be cancelled and reissued. Counsel will contact you at 9 a.m. Please direct all questions there. We will remain civil for our children. Public scenes are not necessary. Olivia. There was no anger in the words. Only boundaries. Michael looked up, shocked to find his audience still there. He tried to raise his glass again, to reclaim the stage with a joke. His hand shook. A drop of champagne hit his cuff. The piano stopped. Even the room seemed to listen. Congratulations, Michael, Olivia said quietly. You wanted a new chapter. Here it is. The manager signaled for the cake to be taken back to the kitchen. This was not a cake moment. The big fall did not look like a car crash. It looked like a man realizing that the person he had taken for granted had been the one holding up the roof the whole time, and that she had just stepped away. The dinner ended without applause. Guests left in pairs, whispering. Some hugged Olivia with quick, fierce arms. Others nodded to her like soldiers to a captain. Ethan walked her to the car. Sophie held her hand. In the quiet of the parking lot, Olivia finally let a long breath out of her chest. Mom? Ethan asked softly. I'm okay, Olivia said. It was true in a way that surprised her. I'm sorry you had to see that. Sophie's voice shook. Did you know? I knew enough, Olivia said. I waited because you deserved your lives without this noise. That ends now. They drove home together. The house felt different. Light fell across the kitchen floor the same way it always had, but the room felt big, like the air understood it had more space. Olivia slept for 4 hours, then woke before dawn. She made coffee. She opened her laptop at the dining table. At 8:59 a.m., she watched Priya's scheduled emails go out: internal memo, lender notice, vendor updates, investor call invite. At 9:02, Dana's office sent a formal letter to Michael and his counsel, noting the fidelity clause and the evidence attached. At 9:07, Michael called. Olivia let it go to voicemail. His message was hot and fast, a tangle of anger and pleading. The next message tried a different tone: reason, then blame, then promise. She saved the messages in a new folder labeled voicemails. She made oatmeal. She answered Ethan's text, I love you. I'm here. She answered Sophie's, we'll talk tonight. Proud of you. At noon, Olivia met Dana in a quiet office with big windows. Dana walked her through next steps: temporary orders, mediation dates, discovery lists. We stay clean, Dana said. No public fights. The numbers are our language. Judges understand numbers. Olivia nodded. She had spent years making numbers tell the truth. She would do it again. That evening, alone in the living room, she let herself remember everything: the vows, the births, the late-night takeout on the floor of their first apartment, the first time Michael had dismissed her in a room full of men. The memory hurt less than she expected. Maybe hurt had a weight limit. Maybe it tipped over and became resolve. She opened a blank document and typed, new rules. Then she began to write. The week that followed looked nothing like a soap opera and exactly like a clean audit. Olivia and Priya met with the controller and rekeyed the accounting software. They shut down ghost vendors. They canceled the temporary marketing support card and required receipts for every expense over $100. They asked every department head for a 90-day plan and cut projects with pretty decks but negative cash flow. It was not glamorous work. It was careful work. The kind Olivia did best. Priya arranged a board call. Olivia chaired it. She spoke clearly, we stabilize. We pay vendors on time. We stop pretending growth is a slide and start making it a statement. The board, tired of risk wrapped in charm, approved. Meanwhile, Dana's team issued subpoenas for records tied to Riley's LLC. A pattern emerged that was hard to explain as consulting. There were dinners in other cities when no client meetings existed. There were travel charges for two when one was claimed. There were jewelry purchases booked as client retention. Numbers do not blush, they just add up. Riley called Michael. He called Olivia. "You're ruining my name," he said. "No," Olivia said. "Your choices did that. I'm repairing the company." He tried a new approach. "We could still make this easy. No courts, no hearings. We split everything and move on." Olivia looked out the window at the maple tree in the yard they had planted when Ethan was 2. Its leaves were full and strong. "We will be civil," she said. "But we will be fair." "Fair is not the same as easy." She hung up. She felt the quiet settle around her like a soft coat. On Friday, payroll ran on time for the first time in months without Olivia having to move money between accounts at midnight. The warehouse manager sent her a thank you email. The receptionist left a sticky note that said, "We've got you." Small things matter. They make a person feel seen. Olivia put the sticky note in her wallet. She did not keep many trophies. She kept proof. Rebellion did not mean chaos. It meant order, after a long season of noise. It meant taking back the power she had always had and using it with care. 2 weeks later, the company hosted its quarterly investor meeting in a bright conference room. Olivia stood at the head of the table in a simple suit. Priya sat to her right with a neat stack of reports. The board members logged in, some in person, some on video. A few nodded to Olivia with the quiet respect given to people who do hard things without shouting. Michael arrived late, uninvited, and walked in like he still owned the air. Riley hovered behind him with a tablet. He went for the chair at the head. "I'll take that," Olivia said evenly, not unkindly, just true. He stopped, confused, then angry, then something like scared. "We'll begin," Olivia said to the room, ignoring his presence the way you ignore a storm that has passed. "You have the packet. Page 1 shows our cash position after the protective measures. Page 2 outlines the 90-day stabilization plan. Page 3 addresses compliance gaps and the steps already taken. We'll answer questions after." She moved through the slides with the calm rhythm of someone who has done the work. She did not dramatize. She did not gloat. She presented the facts, the plan, and the path forward. Then she addressed recent personal matters. Her voice stayed low and steady. "A filing has been made to protect family and corporate assets due to evidence of dissipation and breach of marital contract," she said. "A fidelity clause applies. Legal counsel has the details. We will keep the company separate from the personal process to the full extent possible. We will remain professional." Michael opened his mouth, but his counsel, who had slipped in quietly, touched his sleeve and shook his head. "There are rooms where speaking makes a person smaller." He sat. An investor asked a hard question about a project with weak returns. Olivia answered with a clear plan: pause, restructure, or sell. Another asked about vendor confidence. Priya replied, payments current, communication restored. At the end, Olivia closed her folder. "Thank you," she said. "We built this company on trust in the numbers. We're returning to that." People rose. Hands shook. The room hummed again, not with gossip, but with work. Michael stood in the doorway as partners walked past him to congratulate Olivia. He reached for her elbow. "I never thought you had this in you," he said, voice rough. She looked at him without heat. "You mistook quiet for weak," she said. "That's on you." Riley stayed in the hall, tapping her screen, then looked up and saw no one looking back at her. For the first time, she understood how cold a room could feel when the money leaves. Karma did not clap. It simply balanced the ledger. Summer eased into early fall. The maple turned red at the edges. Ethan came by on Sundays with a bag of coffee beans and fresh bread. Sophie called from her new apartment 3 times a week and twice just to say, "Hi, Mom." The house felt lighter. Even the quiet felt warm. The divorce went forward through mediation. There were hard days. There were long documents and longer silences. There were times Olivia had to step into the yard and breathe like a swimmer breaking the surface. But the numbers did what numbers do, they told the truth. The settlement reflected that truth. Olivia kept the house. She kept her share of retirement untouched. She kept control of the company. Michael kept his pride, which shrank each time he had to sell a toy to pay a bill. Riley left within a month, not because of a scandal, but because attention and cash are different things, and only one had kept her interested. One afternoon, Olivia stood in the kitchen with Sophie. She asked, "Does it feel like revenge?" Olivia smiled, soft and a little tired. "It feels like balance," she said. "Some betrayals come with a price tag. And eventually, someone brings the bill to the right address." That night, Olivia sat on the back steps, felt the cool boards under her hands, and looked at the sky. She did not feel triumphant like a victor on a hill. She felt steady like a tree with deep roots that had bent in a wind and did not break. She thought about all the women who kept receipts, both paper and memory, and how often they turned hurt into order. She hoped they knew they were not alone. The next morning, Olivia brought a box of pastries to the office, wrote a thank you card to Priya and the team, and went back to work. Not because she needed to prove anything, but because she liked work done well. She liked numbers that added up. She liked the feeling of a place where people trusted one another to tell the truth. She closed her office door, opened a fresh spreadsheet, and titled it simply, Future. Moral: some betrayals come with a price tag, and karma always sends the bill to the right address. If you felt that justice click into place, tap subscribe and ring the bell. I drop new karma and revenge stories every day, simple, sharp, and so satisfying. See you in the next one.